dominated educational system. We don't have a competitive educational system. We don't allow competition. So it's a rigged game. And so what we have to do, if you want to change that, is we have to work in a number of different ways to allow more competition in the educational system. Entrepreneurs. I mean, entrepreneurs are innovative and creative. If we would free the educational system, oh my God, America would be it'd be so amazing. I mean, it'd be a lot of failed experiments. And some people would fall behind, and there'd be inequality, and there'd be all these horrible stories. But the level of innovation and progress would astound the world. I mean, there are so many creative young entrepreneurs that if we had let them create in the educational system, oh my God, it'd be amazing. So that's what we have to do. We have to free it up, and that, whether it be charter schools or vouchers or magnet schools or whatever, anything that allows more choice, that allows competition, and allows entrepreneurship in education is, frankly, a revolutionary act. So I will tell you one story, and then I'll give the floor up. I almost was an educator instead of a grocer. I was studying to be an elementary school teacher, and I did my student teaching in this school in San Antonio, Texas, and I was like the Pied Piper with these kids. They'd give me all the kids that couldn't read, and they'd be reading within a few weeks. I thought I was doing this great job. My hair was kind of long, and maybe I didn't dress like all the rest of the teachers, but I come in one day, and the principal pulls me aside and says, I want you to leave my school. I never want you to come back. I said, what? He said, you are a troublemaker. I said, what are you talking about? I am teaching these children how to read. I'm changing their lives. None of the other teachers like you. And I said, so what? Who cares? I don't like them either. The kids like me. They said, and that's why you're a troublemaker. And so I realized I can't change the system. And after that is when I got into food and started Whole Foods. So we need entrepreneurs in the educational system, but it's a bureaucracy and it's going to be a difficult one. I'm glad I didn't do it this lifetime.
Gene, could I chime?
The thing about business is nothing succeeds like success. It's why I put those slides up there that show conscious businesses are very successful. Because what people believe is that this all sounds good, but in the real world it won't work. And of course it does work in the real world. I'm not saying that's easy to do. But what will get these ideas adopted is, as more businesses start up and they're successful, they will outcompete the less conscious businesses, and you'll have creative destruction, and then it'll have a tipping point where entrepreneurs are falling all over themselves. I've watched this in the food business for years. Whole Foods Market flew under the radar, everybody ignored us. Now everybody copies us. Kroger and all those guys are copying us. That's creative destruction. That's the way it works in competition, forcing our prices lower, forcing us to innovate and differentiate more. So critical mass has not been reached for these ideas, so it's a competitive advantage right now to engage in business in a more conscious way with conscious leadership and higher purpose. Someday that won't be a competitive advantage any longer, and that'll be when the tipping point is reached. But you know it. You could go start a business, you could win. So that's why it's going to change. In fact, I know these ideas are going to spread because they work better. And whatever works better in capitalism is reproduced and spreads. In a competitive marketplace, one cannot maintain a monopoly without government coercion for very long. I remember, it wasn't that long ago that Microsoft was the boogeyman. Oh my God, we've got to break up Microsoft. The government drove Bill Gates into philanthropy. They did. He got grilled by the government, they humiliated him, they invaded all his privacy, and he's the richest man in the world. He said, enough of this stuff. I'm going to be a philanthropist. Everybody will love me. And of course, the Gates Foundation is doing good work, but I would argue Gates was making a bigger, better contribution when he was running Microsoft.
Yes, absolutely.
And nevertheless, we didn't need to break up Microsoft. Google, Apple, Facebook, all these guys are doing that job for us because you can't maintain a monopoly unless Because it's based on voluntary exchange. If you have a high market share and there's no government coercion, that just means people are voluntarily exchanging for you because it's in their benefit to do so. They're creating value for people or they wouldn't be able to make the trade. So monopolies can't be maintained unless the guns stand behind them over the long term. And I challenge you to name an exception.
On that note, yes.
Mr. Mackey, I try not to draw too many conclusions off anecdotal evidence, but I think it's a unique opportunity to ask. Do you have any anecdotes, given that the health food movement kind of started, a lot of people that identify with the left today with Whole Food success, do you see any, or do you have any experiences you can share with us of how maybe your marketing of capitalism or your bringing such a great service to people who might have identified with the left has affected the way that they think about capitalism?
Well, selling the book and being on the book tour has been very interesting. It's very interesting for who's attracted to the ideas and who shows up. And it's very interesting because young people are very attracted to the ideas. The millennials really like it. It's optimistic and hopeful. Business people like it because business people are on the defensive in this culture. And the book tells them that they're heroic, they're value creators, they're good people doing good things for themselves and for their families and for other people. They feel good about that. The hardcore left hates it, and the hardcore libertarians don't like it. That's been my experience.
Thanks.
But they still shop.
Well, everybody doesn't shop at Whole Foods.
Great. Yes. The success of capitalism, but that it could be sold a lot better. You know, it's not winning. It's not using a military metaphor. It's selling it better. Go ahead, John.
Let me defend the term conscious capitalism and why I like it. Because there are a lot of different meanings to it. And I think the first meaning of it is to do capitalism, as you say, more explicitly, more consciously. As we become conscious of the things that are happening sort of automatically on an unconscious basis, we can do them more skillfully. As we become more aware of the principles, we can execute those principles in a more skillful fashion. And as we do that, and we can articulate that meaning to more people, we create more friends and allies. So it is capitalism. I'm not changing any of the principles of capitalism. I'm merely saying do it more consciously. Understand the impacts that capitalism has. Business ripples out. One of my friends calls it the power of the wake. If you throw a stone into the water, you see the wake. Or if you're behind a ski boat, you see the power of the wake. Every one of us has a wake. We are more powerful than we realize. We impact people with what we say and what we do, but we don't see it because it ripples out, right? And so conscious capitalism is recognizing the power of the wake of an individual and a business and an economic system. By doing it more consciously, it allows the power of that wake to be magnified in, I think, more positive directions. So I think that's the first meaning of conscious capitalism. And but I'll let Tibor respond.
Marty, you want to elaborate
on it. If you take the big picture across the planet, he's absolutely right. Unfortunately, the United States is losing ground, relatively speaking.
Right.
I mean, for most of our history, if there had been an economic freedom index of the world, we would have been number one, decade after decade after decade after decade. In as short a period of time as the year 2000, we were still ranked number 3, behind Hong Kong and Singapore. Where are we today? We're all the way down to number 18. We are losing ground. We are losing freedom in America right now. And that's, of course, what I'm mostly concerned about, because it's my home. I live here. And I would like to see us begin, instead of falling down that index, I'd like to see us begin to move closer to the top of it. That's been our historical legacy, and that's what we should be leaving for our children.
Yeah.